Battle Through the Heavens God, the Flame Emperor Chapter 53, The Pride of the Seven Big Cities. Boom boom boom. Everyone just saw the terrifying sound waves converging into a terrifying dochi that emerged from the 6 people next to the white figure, attacking the many strong men in the hall. The dochi from all directions slashed viciously towards the people who broke into the hall, bringing up 100 meters of light, and the gravel in the air could not help being shaken by this powerful force. The terrifying aura contained in it, even the powerhouses at the peak of a 3-star doge would not dare to resist alone. Seeing this terrifying scene, many experts in the hall hurriedly took action. They are also clear that since they have entered the final hall, only if the 7 guardians in front of them are defeated, then that's their only chance to get the immortal level do skills and more precious treasure. Otherwise all of their efforts before is all just nonsense. The crowd exudes domineering dochi that is colorful, and their dochi soaring to the sky gathers into a huge wall of light standing in front of everyone, trying to resist the terrifying dochi attacking from the hall. Bang bang bang. The terrifying sonic dochi viciously hit the wall of light that gathered everyone's huge dochi, and the 2 forces were stalemate, as if there were burst of harsh sounds. Fire killing palm. Break it for me. Wu Huan also looked at the 2 beams of light that were stalemate, and couldn't help frowning and shouting. Immediately, he stimulated his whole body with dochi, and the amazing aura also burst out at this moment. This technique is also clear: as long as someone intervenes in this beam of light, it will definitely shatter. The wall of light formed by the terrifying sonic attack and the huge dochi shattered instantly. Everyone also knows that now, just like in the formation, everyone is like a grasshopper on a rope. Only by defending against these 7 guardians can they have a chance to think about other things. Seeing the guardians' contact of this sonic attack, everyone in the hall slowly raised their heads and looked towards the 7 figures above the hall. Above the main hall, 7 figures stood in a row. At the top of the main hall is a bone-like skeleton and a seemingly ordinary coffin. Looking down the hall, on the stone steps under the throne of skeletons, there is a figure in white-robed. If you look closely, the man in white-robed looks like a middle-aged person. He can't feel a trace of dochi presence all over his body. Wearing white-robed, his back turned to Xiaoyan in the hall, and then he slowly raised his head and looked at the place on the throne that had long since become a skeleton, his eyes full of deep admiration. Dressed on the stone steps under the white-robed, 6 burly figures stand under the white clothes, showing a figure-8 shape. The strange thing is that these 6 people are facing Xiaoyan and they are standing fixedly, as if waiting for the general. Just like soldiers who's waiting for an order, there was a killing intent in their eyes. The eyes of the people in the hall also widened at this moment. Because the people in front are completely different from the stone sculpture before, but now they are no different from ordinary people. Damn. Seeing this, Wu Huan couldn't help but scolded secretly. He practiced for so many years, and his strength is still not enough. Wu Huan, who originally planned to show his strength in this ruins. Even with his powerful strength of the 3-star Doda peak stage, Wu Huan felt powerless in the face of any of those 6 people, not to mention the mysterious powerhouse in white. But Wu Huan didn't have the slightest sign of flinching, staring viciously on the stone steps. Damn. Feng Yi also squeezed her crystal-like jade hands, and the colorful dress behind her also added a few different colors at this moment. Damn it! The information is wrong. The living undead who exuded a strong sense of death all over also looked at the huge lineup on the stone steps in front of him and couldn't help feeling a little uneasy in his heart. Even if all the people in the main hall do their best, I'm afraid it will be quite difficult to deal with these 6 people, not to mention that mysterious white-robed man. This is just right to temper my sword. A young man in a gray robe had a black cloth wrapped around his eyes, which invisibly exuded an astonishing and frightening aura. But this couldn't hide the thick fiery in the eyes of the gray-robed man. Before the gray-robed man could finish speaking, one hand slowly touched the black sword behind him, and the other hand slowly touched the black cloth on his forehead and eyes. This appearance is obviously a place where you can really hone your sword, so how could the man in gray robe back down? Hee, Xiao Han, are you scared? On the tender shoulders of a delicate girl, an ice blue bird was looking at the terrifying people on the stone steps. But the bird just heard the words of the delicate girl, and an astonishing chill emanated from the bird, as if to signal to the girl that he is not afraid at all. This is the real ruins. Ha ha ha. A figure stood still. His body was burly, like an iron tower. His eyes were also swept away with a fierce look at the 6 guardians above the stone steps. The blood in his body was boiling a lot, and his eyes were also full of thirst of war. It's much more interesting now. A long black dress highlighted the woman's slender and graceful figure was slender and plump, and the curve alone was enough to attract the attention of the hall. Wu Huan of Wucheng, peak of 3-star Dode, Feng Yi of Fenglei City, mid-level of 3-star Dode, Living Dead of Jinsang Market in Yanwang City, peak of 3-star Dode, King Bell of Sword King City, mid-level of 3-star Dode, The Demon of Snowy Family, peak of 3-star Dode, Luyan of 10,000 Beast City, mid-level of 3-star Dode, Berserker Sun Ming, peak of 3-star Dode. Gathering all the heavens favored people near Qingchang, they expressed their aura at this moment. Yura, you will follow me when the war begins. There are many dangers in this ruin, but it will not be as simple as this 6 guardian. Xiao Yan looked at the strength of the 7 people in front of him, and also felt that these 7 people was indeed worthy of being the proud sons of heaven, but Xiao Yan didn't mean to be afraid at all. Yeah. Yuro also gently agreed, and then her slender jade hand stroked her forehead, as if something was ready to go. The other people in the hall also looked at each other in dismay. One looked at the other and stood out in front of the 7 people. They were obviously thinking about something. In that case, let's fight. The remaining Alchemist Association and some sects in the hall shouted after thinking. Obviously, after a short period of thinking and weighing, the rest of the people who did not express their opinions are also clear that since they have all come for the treasure, how can they return empty-handed? They all know that as long as they can defeat these guardians, they will naturally get the immortal rank Do skill. The 7 favored sons of heaven near Qingcheng were already familiar with each other. After a brief glance at each other, Wu Huan took the lead and shouted. In that case, Chapter 54, 7 favored sons of heaven versus the 6 guardians. The crowd in the hall suddenly burst into a monstrous atmosphere, approaching the 6 guardians above the stone steps. The opportunity has been given to you, but you don't cherish it. In that case, then die. Even in the face of the monstrous aura that erupted from the many powerhouses under the main hall, the eyes of the white-robed man remained calm. He still stared at the skeleton on the throne as always, and said calmly, as if he was telling a story like an ordinary thing. Everyone was stunned when they heard it. The 6 figures in front of them didn't move just to give them a chance to exit the hall, but they gave up. But everyone was not discouraged at all. Opportunities and dangers coexist. Everyone present knows this. Next, there is the real battle. But the 6 guardians in front of them, which strength is at the peak of a 3-star Dode, cannot be easily defeated. Since everyone has entered this hall, the immortal level Do skill and treasures are in front of you. If you have any doubts in your heart, you should put them away. Everything is about defeating these guardians. And I believe that all of you have also felt their strength. The strength of the peak 3-star Dode is unmatched by anyone present. Wu Huan also saw many strong men in the hall, saying that if the current situation did not come, it is very likely that he will die at the hands of these guardians. These 6 guardians are at the peak strength of 3-star Dode, and they still haven't regained their full strength. Once they regain their strength, their power can match a 4-star Dode or higher, and not one of the people present will be able to escape. As soon as the voice of the white-robed man fell, the 6 guardians under him also roared away at the crowd in the hall. Puff. A moment has appeared in front of everyone. Kill. These guardians have just woken up and haven't regained their peak strength. This is our great opportunity. Feng Yi has also been using his soul power to perceive since, and only then did she know this. The real strength of the 6 guardians in front of them should be more than the peak of 3-star Dode. No wonder it makes people feel a little weak, so it is. Many powerhouses in the hall were relieved when they heard what Feng Yi said. Just as the people in front of them were talking, the aura of the 6 guardians spread out, clenched their fist, and attacked the 7 heroes of heaven in the hall. There was a terrifying strong wind on the dry fist, and the 7 heroes in front of the field saw this, and hurriedly defended with aura all over their body. Spread apart. The 2 of us deal with a guardian, first defeat the one who is going to support the others, and leave the rest to the other strong men in the hall. Wu Huan also said slowly. After the short-term period of silence now, He also knew that even if they were fighting alone, even the heavens chosen sons of their 7 major cities would not be able to deal with a guardian. The strength of the peak 3-star Dode was still so tyrannical. So there is a roar of techniques. No, I can deal with one alone, and I also really want to test the strength of this guardian. A gray-robed human said, with a strong desire in his voice, like a thirsty person in the desert who suddenly saw water. That's what it means. A burly figure also laughed, seeing the powerful aura slowly emitting from his body, which is strange to say, that aura is not emanating from his chi, but from which burly muscle spread out. There was no lack of discerning people present to see that one of these 2 people was Wang Zhong, the proud son of Sword King City, and the other was Sun Ming, a berserker who was blessed by nature. Both of them had such capital. Wang Zhong fights against a guardian. Sun Ming fights against a guardian. Shen Su and Wu Huan face off against a guardian. Feng Yi and Yao Mei battle a guardian. Lu Yin, Xiao Yan, and Yuera fights against a guardian. The strong men in other halls deal with the last guardian. Xiao Yan was also helpless. Originally, he wanted to get the fortune without any troubles, but unexpectedly, he was caught by these heavenly people. Now they are just like grasshopper on a rope, and this kind of thing cannot be avoided. Yuero followed Xiao Yan and the others to fight against a guardian. Although Xiao Yan and the others have 3 strong people to deal with a guardian, it seems that Lu Yin is in the mid-level of 3-star Dode, Yuero is also in the mid-level of 3-star Dode, and Xiao Yan himself is only at the initial level of 3-star Dode, although he is far from that 3-star Dode. Mid-level is just 1 step away. Boom boom boom. With the clear division of each among the many powerhouses in the hall, in the originally quiet venue, with a bang, thousands of different colors of dazzling aura erupted suddenly, followed by muffled sounds. As everyone figures in the field flashed rapidly, all of them were quickly surrounded by their target guardians in the main hall. Inside the main hall, looking at the scene where the battle broke out almost from the very beginning, one after another fierce dochi emanated can be seen everywhere. After all of them assigned each other, everyone dispersed and attacked the guardians. Behind Xiao Yan, the ancient ruler of eternal fire pointed slightly obliquely. A green-haired girl and Xiao Han with an ice-blue hair, slowly exuding a terrifying cold aura were also standing beside Xiao Yan and the others. Although it was unclear why Xiao Yan could make someone as strong as Wu Huan care about them, Lu Yin was not sure why. However, he remembered that Xiao Yan has a small beast whose strength is comparable to a 3-star Dode, and his strength and bloodline are stronger than even Xiao Han who has some snowbird bloodline. And Lu Yin also doesn't know why Yuero and Qing Chang, a mere 3-star Dode in the mid-level, can also be ranked in the favor of heaven like herself. But now is not the time to think about it. The top priority is to get rid of the guardian, and other things will wait until it is over. Then Lu Yin also stared at the guardian in front of her, and then looked at Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan and Yuero were standing on the edge of the hall, and they were also facing Lu Yin's guardian. Yuero's body exuded a cyan dochi, and something slowly glowed on her forehead. Xiao Yan's whole body exudes red dochi, and then a milky white flame is attached to dochi, which looks very terrifying. 2 powerful breaths slowly wrapped the 2 of them, and 2 extremely powerful breaths permeated out of their bodies. At this time, the 2 of them did not break into the chaotic field in the main hall. They know that this extremely chaotic atmosphere will not last long. As long as the people present defeat the guardians, and each of them unite and fight, the chaos in the field will gradually fall into a situation where several strong coexist. Under the restraint at that time, the chaos will weaken a lot. Once they free up their hands, then these guardians will loose. Then it's time for them to really fight. However, there is another possibility that if the guardians defeat even any of their teams, their situation will become even more unfavorable. Everyone present knew that a guardian of the peak of 3-star Dode was enough to change the situation on the entire battlefield. What should we do now? The green-haired girl bit her lips lightly and said, she felt a strong killing intent from the guardian in front of her. What else can we do? Let's fight. Xiao Yan also shrugged helplessly, and attacked the guardian in front of him. Chapter 55, Fight against the Guardian, with strength of peak 3-star Dode. Taking a look at the surrounding battles, Wu Huan and the others who were walking faster and faster, Xiao Yan let out a slow sigh of relief. It seemed that they had the upper hand in dealing with them. Xiao Yan also turned his gaze back to the Grey Guardian. The majestic doqi in his body trembled slightly, and a surging red doqi turned out, roaring and rushing along the meridians like a flood, finally poured out of the body, suddenly pulling his strength and rise to the top. The huge ancient ruler of eternal fire was removed from Xiaoyan's back. The ancient ruler was wrapped in milky white doqi. The tyrannical doqi caused the space around the heavy ruler to fluctuate slightly. Xiaoyan raised his head and clenched the handle of the ruler with his palm, tilted his head to Yuara and Luyin and said lightly, "Quick fight, don't be dragged on for too long." Yuara and Luyin also nodded slightly. The former's blue-colored doqi burst out from her body, and the dazzling blue light made her almost like a towering tree on the ground, extremely conspicuous. Seeing this, the latter also refused to admit defeat. He activated his entire body of doqi. Bursts of ice blue doqi burst out from his body, and the small cold on his shoulders also exuded an astonishing chill. "Xiaoyan, give me a few minutes." Luyin also looked at Xiaoyan, obviously planning something. She seemed to be feeling the fierce doqi surging up behind her. Although she didn't know what Luyin wanted to do, since she could be called Heaven's Pride, she should have some skills. Xiaoyan also nodded at Luyin. The two in front of them are truly worthy of the heavens' favored sons. Their strengths are indeed extraordinary. Immediately, the sole of their feet lifted slightly, and they landed with a bang. It was a milky white flame, light and shadow, carrying the violent sound of oppressive wind, and shot at the icy guardian in front of them. The violent oppressive wind blew the grey clothes of the guardian in front of him tightly against the skin, but the guardian's face was fearless. He sneered, and a silver long skirt spear appeared out of thin air, and then the silver spear suddenly shook. The silver doqi flashing with electric light was like small snakes, covering the spear body. The guardian clenched the handle of the spear with his right hand and shouted loudly. The spear turned into a silver light and shot at Xiaoyan's neck extremely fiercely. Ding ding ding. The huge grey figure suddenly stood upright, and the silver rays of light were straight on the mysterious ancient ruler. But it didn't give even slightly shake on the ruler. The fierce attack was blocked. The grey guardian's face did not change even slightest, and his arm suddenly shook, with a silver gas like electric light, rushing out along the silver spear, and finally turned into a few illusory silver spear shadows. Strange, he avoided the defense of Xiaoyan's ancient ruler and stabbed Xiaoyan's head behind him. The terrifying silver spear shadows with electric light made a chirp sound as it passed through the air. The attack power of thunder-type doqi is quite impressive. Xiaoyan felt it like he was fighting with his second brother, Xiaoli, when he was on the doqi continent, so naturally he would not despise them. A few roared like angry dragons. The silver spear shadow that came in rapidly enlarged in the pitch-black pupils. Xiaoyan's body was shocked, and the majestic milky white doqi burst out. In an instant, it solidified into a milky white energy wall in front of the three of them. Xiaoyan and the others were tightly wrapped in it, and the silver spear shadow ruthlessly exploded in front of the energy wall that Xiaoyan had condensed. Boom boom boom. The energy wall was instantly smashed by the silver spear shadow, making a harsh sound like glass shattering. Compared to Xiaoyan, he had long expected that the guardian in front of him had the dignified strength of the 3-star Do De Peak, and his energy defense wall obviously could not stop his attack, but Xiaoyan did not do that. The flame divides the wave ruler. Xiaoyan's hand slowly protruded the ancient ruler of eternal fire. Suddenly, the terrifying milky white hot energy that surrounded him became more vigorous at this time, and even the space around him was slightly distorted at this moment. A substantive madness of white flame energy suddenly erupted from Xiaoyan's body in Xiaoyan's soft shout, and then poured into the ancient ruler in Xiaoyan's hand. With such a terrifying energy infusion, I can only see that the original ancient ruler of eternal fire has 23 strange colors, which makes people look extraordinarily strange, and the ancient ruler seems to be swirling around like 1,000 flames. Oh, this flame is a bit strange. The grey figure holding a silver spear in front of him also saw Xiaoyan's attack and couldn't help but say, "I rarely meet people with such special flames, so I couldn't help but be a little interested in Xiaoyan in front of him." The white-robed man on the stone steps turned his head and glanced at the flame and ruler on Xiaoyan's body, as if he had said something to the grey guardian in front of Xiaoyan. It was obvious that Xiaoyan's attack contained a terrifying power of flame, and even the Grey Guardian, who was stronger than Xiao Yan, had the slightest interest in the power of flame on Xiao Yan's body. While the Grey figure exclaimed in surprise, he also pumped his thunder attribute vindictive energy into the silver spear in his hand, and then savagely attacked the Do skills launched by Xiao Yan's ancient ruler. Puff puff. The ancient ruler exuding terrifying flame power and the silver spear surrounded by silver snakes collided viciously together. The terrifying Do Qi radiated from the entire hall where Xiao Yan and the Grey figure faced off. This Xiao Yan is really terrifying. The rest, who were dealing with their respective guardians, felt this attack from Xiao Yan, and could not help but frown slightly. Xiao Yan, who was only in the initial level of 3-star Dode, could launch such a powerful attack. It was already very powerful, and the powerful one seemed to be the milky white flames on him. Everyone didn't dare to be distracted, then they fought with their respective partners and dealt with the guardians. Just as the silver spear shadow snake dissipated, Xiao Yan abruptly took a step forward. A heavy ruler in his hand flew out horizontally. The huge force brought a sharp sonic boom that ripped through the air, and smashed it hard at the guardian's head. The terrifying energy created by the swing of the heavy ruler. The corners of Yuura's eyes couldn't help but jump. After seeing Xiao Yan's battles with her own eyes, she only knew how terrifying the latter's power was. On the sole of the Grey Guardian's feet, silver light suddenly poured out, and his body shook. Puff. With a sound, the silver light flashed, and his figure actually flashed back nearly 5 or 6 meters. The speed was astonishingly fast. Okay, it's frozen. An excited voice came from behind Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan took a look and saw that it was Lu Yin, who had been brewing something since he was facing the Guardian. The moment Lu Yin spoke, there were also some blue ice cubes on the sole of the feet of the Grey Guardian who was confronting Xiao Yan. Obviously, this was due to Lu Yin's ice blue Do skills. Xiao Han, come on. Lu Yin's words just fell, and her toes were a little bit, and her petite body was swept out, and finally landed on the icy blue Xiao Han. It is strange to say that Xiao Han, who was originally insignificant, actually swelled several times under Lu Yin's words, enough to hold 5 people standing. She stretched out her hand and pressed it on the back of the icy blue bird. Boo! In the eyes of the originally icy blue bird, it seemed that the light of spirituality passed through it at this time, fluttering and flapping its wings. The ice feathers are incomparably sharp and extremely cold. Swish swish. Chapter 56, Advance in Battle. At this time, Xiao Yan was not in a hurry to pay attention to the actions of Lu Yin and the Grey Guardian in front of him, because he found out that the Do Qi in his body had become extremely turbulent in his previous battle, that was almost like a cloud and water, and a trace of it was extremely fine. A pure Do Qi was flowing wildly in his body, and the space around Xiao Yan's body was also rapidly fluctuating. A huddled and pure energy was almost pouring into Xiao Yan's body. Look at his appearance. It is clearly that this only happened when you will be promoted. Xiao Yan was lucky enough to achieve a breakthrough opportunity, when he attacked completely with all of his strength, and now the Do Qi in his body is automatically flowing, and the strength has also started to advance as a matter of time. All of this is just a matter of time, because Xiao Yan was originally at the peak of the initial level 3-star Dode, and the breakthrough is only a matter of time. It is just an occasion for promotion, which seems extremely bad. The aura made by Xiao Yan were naturally unable to escape some people with good eyesight in the hall. Therefore, the strength of Xiao Yan actually advanced in the battle? Sounded one after another in the hall. Hundreds of people stared at the figure wrapped in milky white flames in amazement. Breaking through at this time is obviously unwise. The guardians in the hall stared at them. If one is careless, failure to break through in case is a trivial matter. Now that the battle in the main hall is at a critical moment, he actually gave a sudden promotion, which really makes people feel dumbfounded about his luck. You must know that during the promotion, you should not be disturbed too much, otherwise, you will be injured, or even life-threatening. If it is normal, Xiao Yan will be extremely envious when encountering such a thing, but now is not the right time and place to advance. Damn it, why now? Xiao Yan couldn't help but scolded, because of this sudden situation. He also understood that in such a situation, it was basically impossible for him to be promoted quietly. However, this one promotion didn't mean to push him in the slightest, it all came to him automatically. Xiao Yan couldn't bear to refuse, and this was what made him laugh and cry the most. Come, it happened to Catch up. The Grey Guardian looked at Xiaoyan, that couldn't help frowning, as if he was thinking about something, and then his strength suddenly increased a lot. He saw Xiaoyan who was standing still and didn't dare to move, and then he saw the movement around him. Suddenly the Guardian couldn't help but move his palm to the silver spear in his hand, then the spear turned into a shadow and shot at Xiaoyan. Damn it! Xiaoyan couldn't help shouting badly when he saw this funny scene, but he couldn't use his vindictive energy to defend, otherwise his chance to break through this time would be lost in vain. Xiaoyan, you complete the promotion, I will help you stop him temporarily. A pale green shadow suddenly appeared in front of Xiaoyan. Yuoro smiled. At this time, the Grey Guardian in front of him also discovered something was wrong with Xiaoyan, and hurriedly took action. Although with the peak strength of the 3-star Dodi of the Grey Guardian, he would not be afraid of Xiaoyan's breakthrough. Give me 10 minutes. After a little delay, Xiaoyan gritted his teeth and nodded, then hurriedly sat cross-legged. Then Xiaoyan began to control the crazy energy in his body. At a certain moment, a fierce look flashed across Luyin's eyes. She slowly opened her mouth, and a cloud of ice blue origin chi spit out. That Xiaohan also opened his bird's beak, and the cold air roared out, turning into a cold wind, and suddenly roaring out. The cold wind whizzed past, and the ground was instantly frozen, and the Grey Guardian was about to turn origin chi to resist. But his body suddenly stiffened. In just a few breaths, the Grey Guardian turned into a lifelike ice sculpture. Huh, I'm exhausted. Luyin's shoulders also collapsed, and her face was pale. Obviously, the previous attack was their hidden skill in the city of 10,000 Beast. It was not as easy as it looked. Even if Xiaoyan was doing the bait before, he radiated cold air around the Grey Guardian, so that he could temporarily freeze for a while now. Xiaoyan, you can break through with peace of mind. Luyin also saw Xiaoyan's state and said that although she and Xiaoyan only had a one-sided relationship, it could not be said to be a bad feeling, and Xiaoyan's breaking through his level was also known by the people present in the hall. Offending him is not a good thing. To be an alchemist of the first-rank emperor, be careful. Yuoro also hurriedly activated the blue vindictive energy all over her body and attacked Luyin. What are you doing? Luyin had just temporarily frozen the Grey Guardian, but she never thought that Yuoro would attack her when she was weak. How despicable? Luyin thought at this time. The bird on Luyin's shoulder is obviously not an ordinary thing. Seeing Yuoro attacking her master, she hurriedly gestured to Luyin. That Grey Guardian wasn't frozen at all. The ice blue Xiaohan seemed to say. The conversation between Luyin and Xiaohan was not over yet. A bunch of powerful thunder-type guardian carrying a silver spear whizzed away at Luyin, saying it's late to dodge. Just when the terrifying Dochi was about to attack Luyin, Yuoro's Dochi also arrived. The guardian's long spear, carrying the silver-white Dochi, attacked fiercely with the blue-colored Dochi slowly exuding from Yuoro's body. Boom boom boom. Circles of shockwaves emanated from the center of the attack. The Grey Guardian took back his spear, covered with thunder attribute aura, and from time to time thunder flowed on his body. The Dochi of this little girl seems to be familiar. The Grey Guardian also looked at Yuoro with interest. The Grey Guardian did not know how long he had been asleep, and he had just woken up. Even his memory was a little incomplete. Regarding the attack of the Grey Guardian, even it was a strong techniques, she did not dare to neglect the slightest, so Yuoro also wrapped her entire palm with cyan vindictive energy and hurriedly attack. The palms collided, and the slate on which Yuoro was standing was directly shaken into powder. Swoosh! Yuoro just banged against the Grey Guardian, and suddenly another blast of wind resounded behind her. Yuoro frowned slightly, her right hand brought a turbulent blue light, and pushed back. The battle is still going on, but for some reason, anyone with a discerning eye can see that the current battle between the Grey Guardian and Yuoro is not as intense as Xiaoyan at the beginning. Could it be that the Grey Guardian is exhausted? After this wave of attacks was over, Luyin was also very grateful to Yuoro. Even if it was just the attack, she would lose her face if she didn't die. She had misunderstood her just now, and although she didn't know what the Grey Guardian in front of her meant, Luyin's attitude toward Yuoro was turned gently. Luyin now has to look carefully at the Grey Guardian in front of her. This guardian can break the seal in an instant under her own freezing technique. The strength is too tyrannical. He is indeed the guardian of the peak 3-star Dode. At the same time, She also looked at Yuuru's Cyan vindictive aura with great interest. Just from the Cyan vindictive aura, she could feel an air of admiration. What secret does Yuuru have? The green-haired girl Lu Yin also became curious at this moment, but she was not idle either. She also threw herself into the battle with Xiaohan on her